I observed the ESL classroom at Eagleton Middle School, and the classroom that I ended up in was a high school room, although I started out in a kindergarten room where the students were practicing the letter G, and they were doing uppercase and lowercase. They had a printout of um, a bubble letter type uppercase and lowercase G, and they were practicing writing the actual letter on the board if they had difficulty. And they were using gold and green glitter because they both started with G to fill in the letters after they got done with their lesson. After that class was over, Cherie and I were split up into a middle school and a high school class. I ended up in the high school class, which got started a little bit late, and only 3 of the 6 students that were supposed to be in there were there. A couple of them decided not to come that day, not for any particular reason, just because they didn't want to be there. So that's definitely something I learned about ESL students, is that they don't necessarily want to be pulled out and be different from their regular school, because these students had to be bused over to Eagleton from William Blount and Alcoa, I believe, high schools. So once we got started in the lesson, they were doing history that day, and they were just doing major events of a certain, 1800 time period. And he had major events listed on the board, and then, 2 to 3, 4 facts that he wanted about each of those events. If there were states involved, he would ask them, to recall a couple of the states. And the students had a really hard time doing this. They would, look in their books and the answers would be right there, and sometimes they would just have difficulty pulling those answers out and, putting them into the assessment sheet. So they had a lot of reinforcements. Those students really enjoyed um, candy as a reinforcement. He had a bucket of Laffy Taffy that they would get after they got something right. They were only girls in this classroom, and I learned that even though when you talk to them they may sound like they are, very fluent in English, their reading and comprehension of words is a totally different story. So I feel like I'm more prepared to teach ESL students after this observation, just in the fact that you have to look deeper than the surface on the students.